Good evening. I've often said that I'm an accidental leader, and leadership chose me. I didn't choose it. And from as early as I can remember, regardless of whether we were talking about sports or my profession or social life, I find myself being chosen as the one to take the leadership role in something. I didn't seek it, it kind of sought me. So after a while, I just embraced it. Like, this is who I am. I am a leader. And it kind of makes me believe that leadership is a gift and it needs to be nurtured, it needs to be improved upon. Otherwise, it will go stale and become useless. So to put oneself in a position of leadership means that you're not only willing to set the vision and direct people toward realizing it, it also means you're willing to shoulder the load, right? To take all the hits from the naysayers and from the people who would rather criticize than help. And it means that you're willing to be out there many times all alone. It is a lonely place. We talk about it as this great thing. I've led this thing. But at the end of the day, sometimes you are out there alone. But just because you are a leader, it doesn't mean that you have to not have any fear, right? So when you talk about, how many of you have read Colin Powell's 13 Keys to Leadership? Not many. It's a really good set of keys. And it's not based on the military either. So what he says is fear is a normal human emotion. It is not in itself a killer. We can learn to be aware when fear grips us and can train to operate through and in spite of our fear. If, on the other hand, we don't understand that fear is normal and has to be controlled and overcome, it will paralyze us and stop us in our tracks. We will no longer think clearly or analyze rationally. We prepare for it and control it. We never let it control us. If it does, we cannot lead. Basically, he's saying, get over yourself. Now, I can completely relate because fear gripped me earlier in my career when I didn't have a lot of years of leadership experience. When I had to assume leadership roles in the mostly white, male technology environment, I doubted myself, which made me fear what was in front of me. Who was I to lead these guys from Ivy League schools? These guys who have been writing code all their lives. These guys that were in their natural environment, the one created just for them, by them. Over time, I learned that I could work through those fears, and fear actually made me better because it made me apply laser focus to everything I did. And in some way, it gave me some level of confidence. So later in my career, I learned that when you have a vision and you can bring people along with you and they make that vision their own, then there are fewer and fewer fears because you have allies and you have colleagues. And even your naysayers have to respect your vision at that point. And just as a matter of survival, I always make sure I learn the basics of everyone's job on my team. I want to make sure that they know how things work. If I can do it myself, I try to do it just to get a feel for the job. Why? Because it's a really good way to get to know people. It's a really good way to know the people on your team and why they're there and really what they can do. And from a practical standpoint, when they leave your organization, and they will, you know who needs to replace them, what kind of character, what kind of skills, what kind of culture you're bringing them into, and can they fit that culture. Now, at Microsoft, when I was a program manager, I used to have programmers try to pull the wool over my eyes as if some feature couldn't be developed. But because I was a programmer before being a program manager, I can see through all their bull. That was pretty cool, right? And I can tell them that things could get done. And that pissed a lot of people off sometimes, but sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you have to know what the job is of the people below you. You want them to be the best at what they do, but you need to understand it enough so that they don't take over the ship. Now, most of what I know about leadership was self-taught. I was born and grew up in a time where, folks weren't lining up to mentor an African American woman, especially in the technology industry. For me, observing others, being in the right place, listening, reading books, trying stuff out, that was the best way for me to develop my leadership capacity. And because of this, I have spent the last 15 years formally mentoring others, particularly people of color, because there is no reason in this day and age for them to go through what I went through. And I want to make sure that I show a level of leadership and personal responsibility to make sure that they can move through the world safely and freely. And at my foundation and in various roles that I play on commissions and committees, I try to cultivate leadership in others by challenging people to take a big step toward the next big level. Now, many times I've counseled people to take on jobs that I knew that they weren't qualified for, but it was a chance for them to go through that interview process, to see what they were missing in their skills, to get that kind of inkling of what's going on above them, and to fail without risk. All right? It's no harm in going out for a job that you're not qualified for. And you will fail. And that's okay, because you're going to learn from that failure. So true leaders, I think, believe in the people by their side, whether they put them there or not. And I know if I mentor you or you're on my team, I'm your biggest cheerleader because I want you to succeed. But when things go wrong, I take the blame. And I try to help fix it. I don't push the blame on others. You heard Mr. Ayer say the same thing. It's like you can't look outside of you. The buck stops with you. So, for example, when TAF, our foundation, decided that we wanted to open a public school in partnership with the school district, it had never been done before. And we thought we can do it in Seattle. So from 2005 to 2007, we spent all that time trying to work with Seattle Public Schools to open a school in Rainier Beach area. And it was a disaster, and we got skewered by the press. The district got skewered even more, but I took our side of it very personally. And we learned a lot of lessons. We learned about our mistakes. Then we found a partner in Federal Way Public Schools. And learning from those mistakes gave us the skills we needed and the tools we needed to partner with them to make this school a success. We opened in 2008, and after 5 years, we have one of the top performing schools in our state. And it is still the only the school in our state that is co-managed by a nonprofit and a school district. We went out on a limb together. We owned all of our mistakes together. We owned all the successes together. And the most rewarding part for me as a leader is sharing the credit for that success. I mean, it makes everybody feel good, including myself, and everybody can see that they had a role in the success and that they actually matter. And when you give people credit, they believe they matter. And maybe, just maybe, they might be the ones that take that next step toward leadership. And so the most important message I want to leave you with tonight, in today's world of self-promotion and instant success, it's hard for young people to understand that nobody gets this done by themselves. You did not get yourself here. There were people around you who helped. Your successes are not your own. Your successes belong to everybody around you, whether you know they helped you or not. And at every step you take, I want you to reach back and bring somebody up behind you. Thank you very much.